Hello everybody and welcome to this video. It's the continuation in my series on GCSE English Literature. Everything I go through in this video comes from my ebook. You can get it for £3.99 at mrbruff.com. In the last video we looked at how to understand context, looking at when a text was written, when a text is set, where it was set, and why that might be important. In today's video though, I want to take that into the level of analysis and show you just one example of how understanding of context can really further your understanding of the text itself. Now at GCSE, relevant contextual factors often revolve around attitudes to gender, religion, marriage and love. Understanding these factors helps us to understand the text so much better. I'm going to look at an example from Act 1, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet, which at first glance is a very comic, simple, light-hearted scene starring the nurse, who you may remember from the movie, very hilarious character. But when we understand something of the context and the contextual attitudes to women and marriage, it becomes clear that this scene is so much more. Act 1, Scene 3 offers a welcome dose of comedy to the play. The nurse is a fantastic character with a bawdy, sexual sense of humour. And whereas the servant in Act 1, Scene 2 offered some light comedy, the nurse is all-out slapstick in this scene. Perhaps the funniest moment of the scene is where she tells a long anecdote from Juliet's childhood, which ends with this. For even the day before she broke her brow, and then my husband, God be with his soul, I was a merry man, took up the child. Yea, quoth he, dost thou fall upon thy face, thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit. After telling this long story, the nurse, proving she's a forgetful woman, repeats the whole thing once more. And there's a clever juxtaposition in this scene of the uninhibited nurse and the reserved Lady Capulet. And Juliet makes the comic effect even more powerful. However, this scene also offers an insight into the role of women in Shakespeare's time. What's basically happening is the nurse is remembering a time when Juliet was a baby and she fell on her face. And the nurse's husband said, you're going to fall backwards when thou comes to age. And the meaning of this line is clear. When you grow into a woman, you will fall onto your back to have sex. Now, to a modern audience, this line may seem shocking. The nurse's husband is talking to a baby girl about the sexual future that awaits her. However, an Elizabethan audience would see nothing odd here. In Shakespeare's time, women were seen as little more than mothers and objects of male desire. Most women were denied anything beyond a basic schooling. Even when girls did go to grammar schools, many classes had male-only signs on the doors. Girls would only be taught the most basic subjects. Upper-class families, like Juliet's, would hire tutors to teach their children, but even then the prospects for an educated woman were very slim. Women could not enter any profession or even vote, but instead were being prepared for domestic lives. Upper-class girls were taught how to cook, sew, play instruments, and do anything else which might be seen to make domestic life more attractive. The only option for a woman was to get married and to run the household. And with this in mind, we can see that the nurse's husband was right. Juliet and all women at the time were fated to end up being attached to a man. Today, women have no need to marry, but failure to find a husband in Shakespeare's time meant a desperate life. Females could only survive through the men who provided for them. As children, girls would rely on their fathers for financial support and protection, and when married, this responsibility passed on to their husbands. It was almost unheard of not to marry. At the time Romeo and Juliet was written, it was illegal to marry without parental consent, which meant you needed your mum and dad's permission to get married. Juliet's mother and father want her to marry Paris, an eligible bachelor, and it's an example of dramatic irony, where the audience know more than the characters on the stage, that we already know Juliet is fated to be with Romeo, not Paris. So as you can see, it's only through our understanding of the historical context and attitudes to women and marriage that we are able to fully appreciate the meaning of this scene. And that's the kind of thing context helps you with. You can understand the plot and the surface meaning without it, but to really understand some of the deeper meanings, you need to know what was going on at the time.